Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil.
That would make me terrible, Troy.
And we're joined by the returning director of Slime City, Killer Rack, Johnny Gruesome, the upcoming Widow's Point, and the man behind Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival, Gregory Lamberson. It's very cool to have you back.
That would be gregarious, Greg.
Very nice.
Gregarious. I like
Welcome back.
Come prepared. All right.
My daughter calls me Gregory.
I like that.
I like it, yeah.
It takes too much energy.
Yeah, well, we were a little late here. It was because Greg was thinking of a good name to match Nasty Neil and Terrible Troy.
Oh, don't blame this on me.
No, it was problems with Skype. We're all good. So Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival is coming up. I had a great time last year, and so I decided to come back this year.
You'll have a better time this year.
Why is that?
2 reasons. Number 1, we're running in the summer instead of the winter. And the summer in Buffalo is much nicer than the winter in Buffalo. Even though for the rest of the country, early November is not winter, it definitely is here. And number 2, I did not just finish shooting a movie, so we're ahead of schedule on a lot of stuff that we need to get done, which was definitely not the case last year.
Yeah. Was that difficult last year to deal with, like coming right off of finishing your movie?
Yeah. It wasn't that the festival was right after it. It was the month lead into the festival where we have to make the final decisions and notify people and get their screener copies. And it was a lot.
Mm-hmm. So why is it, why did you move it to August this year?
There are many reasons, but giving you a select few. We've got a number of film festivals in Buffalo. And because we generally like to go after Halloween, because there's so much stupid horror stuff. People would rather go to a costume contest than to a horror film festival at Halloween. It makes no sense to me. All the other festivals will have happened. So we were like sort of the afterthought, which I don't think's right because I know we put on a really good show. So by going in the summer, we are ahead of all the other festivals, but more importantly, we're in nicer weather. I believe, and I don't have stats to back this up, I believe we are the festival that the most filmmakers come to from out of town. And it made more sense to us to have them come here when it's nice to go to Niagara Falls and you're not dealing with bitter cold mist on your face. Right. So it just seems a more conducive time for people to have a good time while they're here. And that's really important to us.
Yeah. Last year when I went, one of the things I really liked about it was the community aspect. It was a lot of people that had been there before, and everyone was interacting. And people, like some people would have a feature who was there before with shorts, or a new feature, or whatever. And it was nice to see that everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people knew each other.
Well, it's the way it is every year, and it's the way we always want it to be. And if we ever get to the point where it's not like that, the fun will go out of it, and that'll probably be it.
Mm-hmm. So I know we probably asked this last year, but what is like the criteria? What are the things you look for when you're selecting the movies?
A movie that blows me away is the ideal reaction. But I mean, we have all different ways of judging a film. We like something original. We like something that we know people are going to want to talk about afterwards. And then we also have a number of films, the ones that we show on weekday matinees, that can be a little more offbeat and appeal to a much smaller group of people. Just some things we do for fun. So we like to have run a nice gamut there, between the top quality films and something that maybe only a few people are going to like.
Yeah. Does that reflect your opinions on movies, what you like? Because I assume you like all different kinds of films.
Yeah, I am. I'm not just a horror guy at all. And it's me and it's my partner, Chris Ioli, and we both agree, typically. We have never had a disagreement about a film. Doing this together for 9 years. I mean, he was even on the first Buffalo Scream. So this is really our 10th year of marriage.
Yeah.
That's
and I do call him my second wife because we nag each other a lot in the run up to the festival. Nothing's worse than at 3:00 in the morning when one of us tells the other something that's really obvious to him, and we both do it, and that sets the other guy off. We start doing angry Facebook messages. Although we've been doing it for so long that now we usually just don't even acknowledge the other guy. Like whatever.
So do you butt heads a lot? Like which movies you want to pick?
No, never. No, we always agree on the films.
So what do you get? Well, you don't have to go into it, I guess. But what do you get angry about?
Oh, maybe logistical thing. And it's not that we disagree about anything. It's that we point out something to the other person that the other person already knows after having worked together for 10 years.
Right.
And we start getting sarcastic late at night.
Right. It's like when I told you who different guests on the show what they were in.
Only I was nicer about it than I would have been to him or he would have been to me.
Right. So another thing in this, because we'll get into the features, because you already named the features, and there's going to be 75 shorts too, I believe you said. So
at least 75 shorts. So at least 100 movies again. We went into it this year thinking, there's a lot of festivals out there that only run for 3 days, maybe 4 days, and they do great. And the guys aren't exhausted at the end of it. Maybe we don't want to do 7 days. So we're thinking this year maybe we'd cut down to 5, or maybe we'd not show movies in the matinee. But here we are again with 7 days of full programming, noon to almost midnight every day.
Yeah.
And we selected a few more. We selected a few more features this year, and I thought that would cut down on the number of shorts we could show. So when I actually added it all up and I saw that it was going to be 100 or 102 or whatever, I was like, oh, no, not again.
So have shorts gotten, have they become more popular over the last few years? Because it seems that way to me.
I know at most film festivals, that's the case. Mm-hmm. And they like to show as many as possible because that gets a big turnout. But we tend to show most of our shorts in the day when there aren't usually a lot of people coming into the theater. Just our core regulars. That may be different now that we're in the summer. I mean, this is an experiment for us going in a totally different season. And as far as outreach to the public, it's almost like we're starting over from scratch.
Mm-hmm. So let's go over some of the features. If you want to pick a few, you can go over all of them if you want. But what are some of the ones that you think are like highlights?
Well, Isaac Esban is an extended family member of the festival. We've been showing his movies from the beginning. This will be the 4th time that he's come out to screen a film. This particular film, Parallel, is his first English language film, and it has a fairly big budget. I think it's a $5 million movie. And it played a limited number of film festivals last year, like the really big ones, Fantasia and probably Fantastic Fest and things like this. And then they stopped doing festivals. They said, okay, no more. And I was trying to get it last year, and it just wasn't going anywhere. So I don't know what's happened behind the scenes, but the film hasn't been released yet. So I started again this year, and it took quite a bit of work. The distributor has 4 different offices, and I pretty much had to go through all of them and contact different people and send emails and make a phone call. And I was really surprised when they said yes, and so was he. Yeah. He thought it was amazing because they've been turning down so many festivals for the last 9 months.
Mm-hmm. Why was it important for you to have a Parallel at Buffalo?
Well, first of all, I think that Isaac is the most talented filmmaker alive whose last name is not Scorsese. I think his movies, the short film we've shown a number of times, El Incidente and The Similars, both of which are on Netflix, I think they're absolutely brilliant genre films. And I've been predicting from the beginning that Hollywood was going to snap him up and we wouldn't be able to get him to our little festival anymore. And sure enough, besides doing Parallel, he's attached to direct Dan Simmons' adaptation. Dan Simmons, the novelist. And it's just a matter of time before he's doing Hollywood blockbusters.
Yeah.
So, besides the fact that we love him and we love his work, he's kind of grown at the same time the festival's grown. And he's developed a following here. A lot of people remember him from the very first time that he came, and they will come out to support him and to see him, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah. I totally get that, but is that a big part of the festival for you to see like people progress with their work and do bigger things?
Well, it's nice to see it. I mean, I always tell everyone the most important thing is to progress in some way. Whether it's quality or ambition or budgets or whatever. Isaac just happens to be the total package. A screenwriter, director, promoter. He's got it all going on.
Yeah. Well, will he be there?
He will be here.
Oh,
and he'll give we let him go 40 minutes with his Q&A. Usually we try and keep him to about 20 minutes, but him we let go 40 minutes.
Yeah. All right. So when's that one playing?
Well, we haven't announced our schedule yet.
Oh, okay.
We've announced all the films, and I'm waiting until after we've announced the shorts to announce the whole schedule. But I will tell you, it's the opening night feature, Friday, August 23rd at 7 p.m.
Oh, very cool. Do you put a thought into how where movies play?
I obsess over it. I do maybe as many as 20 different versions of a schedule in the month before we settle on our final selections. And then it almost always changes because a filmmaker wants to come to town, but he's not available here, but he is available here. So I do some swapping around. But we basically have a template that we follow, as far as where a block of shorts goes, where we stick some medium-length films. For the opening weekend, we show very few shorts. We try and keep it all down to features. And then we start getting into shorts and more local films on the other 4 days of the festival.
Yeah, and this I kind of like a mixtape with music. Sometimes, if you get something exciting, maybe you want something a little slower. Or I remember I go to this 12-hour horror movie marathon on Halloween, and one year after like 10 hours of movies, then they showed The Changeling, which I really like. But after you've been up for 10 hours, that's not a movie you like.
Well, after 10 hours, it's very hard to find anything that you're up for. I mean, that's the fact, and you have to take that into consideration. But for me, the two most exciting things about the festival are discovering new films from people I don't know that blow me away, because if I'm excited, someone here in Buffalo is going to be excited. I love promoting talent that I didn't know exist. And the other thing is the schedule. To me, that's a whole I don't want to say art form, but it takes a certain skill to do it, and I have my own thoughts as to why this film goes good with this film and so on. And when I look at a schedule and I'm really happy with it, it's a great feeling. And then, I have to make changes, and then I'll have to make changes on top of those changes just to get it back to feeling good about it.
Mm-hmm. So what's the WTF movie this year?
The WTF movie is a film called Vortex. And I got to tell you, we have a couple of other films we're showing that could have qualified as a WTF film, but they weren't like as nuts as Night of the Virgin was. Right. This one's as nuts as Night of the Virgin, and it's much shorter. It's a French film. I can't even tell you what it's about. It's a guy he's Lebanese, and for some reason he's a killer. They kind of go into why he's a killer. But he has to get out of town, and he goes on the road, and he hooks up with this woman who's this witch who's very connected to nature, and they both have these weird effects on each other, and there's a lot of bodily fluids involved, and it's quite a film.
All right. Well, I'm sold.
Yeah, the one we showed last year, what was that? It was the one from Spain about the home invasion with the video camera.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot what that film was called, but we had some walkouts in that one. And if we can get more people into this one, we will have more walkouts than that one. It's sort of an endurance test, the WTF. And this one is really, it's a first for us because the filmmaker is coming.
Oh, nice. So
he's
the first
coming from France
with the film? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first time we've ever had a filmmaker in attendance for a WTF, which should really make things uncomfortable, I think, for the audience. And I think he's going to be there the whole week, and that's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hell of a Q&A.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to walk out of a movie if you know that the guy. Because I did, and not because it was too gruesome or anything. There was I won't say the name, but I was at a film festival in London, Fright Fest, and the movie was very bad, I'll say. But we were sitting
in London.
Yeah, last year. It was a good time.
That's awesome.
And it was very pretentious movie, and I wanted to leave, but the maker was sitting a few seats. And I was like, I can't walk out. I just feel horrible.
I'm going to introduce him and ask him to sit in the back row, so anybody leaving will have to walk right by him. So a very interesting film, too. I mean, it's not just something that's going to shock you. There's some really cool stuff, and I think people are going to want to know what he was thinking and why he went this way. And, the best WTF is shocking, but also an art film, kind of.
Right. Yeah. So, we got Read Unbound, which is by Adrian Esposito.
Adrian is back again with Read Unbound, a documentary he made with Jerry Landy, who did Bat Radicus last year.
Very cool guy.
It's about Joel Reed, the guy who did Blood-Sucking Freaks, and there's a lot of clips of Blood-Sucking Freaks in there. I had actually talked to Troma about acquiring Blood-Sucking Freaks just for the night to be our WTF. But then we got a real WTF, so I didn't need to pay Troma money for that. And also, so much of the best stuff of Blood-Sucking Freaks is in the documentary.
Nice. I'm a big fan of Joel Reed and Blood-Sucking Freaks. So
I think you may have mentioned that in the film itself.
Yes, I did.
It's a very weird experience to me to now watch documentaries. Adrian's last documentary also had he had an interview with Lloyd that he did at Buffalo Dreams, but now I'm seeing the Buffalo Dreams regulars as talking heads in a documentary. You're there, John. My friend John Wren is there. John Carius, who's big in the Troma films, is there. So it's odd watching these people that I talk about movies with at the festival now talking about movies in a film we're showing at the festival. The lines definitely blur, and they blur even more if a couple of shots are out of focus.
Right. But yeah, I went to meet Joel Reed in Manhattan, and it was a lot of fun because we walked around New York, and he was talking about very politically correct things. He was like, "This we used to call this the fruit stand because all the fags would walk out on." And he's like, "I miss those days," and it was an experience.
Well, his whole situation has taken a downturn, and in fact, a longer cut of the documentary, which I have not seen, kind of spirals out of control with stuff going on in his personal life and threats made to the filmmakers, and they cut all that stuff out. And I was like, "You got to show this," and they're like, "No, we don't want to make anyone look bad." So at the Q&A, we will definitely find out. In postscript, what some of the stuff is they weren't able to show us.
Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate. I would like to see that, and it's unfortunate with Joel because I do like him. What else is? Name some other ones here.
A movie called The Special. There is a man named Mark Steensland who I first met at the Erie Horror Film Festival. He lived in Erie at the time. And I know him as a guy who's done some short films, and he's done some scripts that have been in screenplay competitions. I think he's kind of been waiting, to make his big film. And I think the backstory is somebody told him this particular script was more suited for a short film than a feature. So he went to a novelist friend of mine, James Newman, and he said, let's flesh this out as a novella. And they wrote it as a novella, and then it became a script again. I'm not sure if James Newman wrote the script with him. Their names are both on the film. And B. Harrison Smith, who directed Death House, is the director who got this film made. And I haven't seen Death House. I know the fans have had some unkind things to say about it. But I will tell you that if people don't like Death House and they love good horror films, they are going to completely revisit their opinion of B. Harrison Smith, because this is a great movie. And I have been telling people that it is definitely the next Basket Case or Brain Damage. I mean, it's that much of a non-point cult film. Nice. And it's about this guy who finds out his wife is cheating on him, and he's hanging out in a bar, and his friend says, hey, you'll feel better if you cheat on her too. So the friend takes him to a whorehouse, and he says, I'm not going to get you any whore. I'm going to get you the special. But you're going to love the special, and you're going to want it again. Don't ever go for it again. Once is enough. He's okay, whatever. The guy goes up into the room, and there's a box there with a hole cut out that says, stick it in. So he follows his instructions, and he has the best time of his life, and he becomes obsessed with what's ever in that box, and he ends up going back to the whorehouse and stealing it. So now he's got this fantasy thing, this creature, whatever's in the box, with him all the time. And just like in Brain Damage, you make a deal with the devil. You've got to do certain things to keep it happy. And it's one of those films that takes the concept, as it's developing, you think, they're not really going to take this all the way, are they? And they do. And I guarantee this is the film that people are going to be talking about after the festival and saying, you have to see this movie.
That definitely sounds like something I like. Basket Case and Brain Damage are two of my favorite movies since I was a kid. So, and the whole setup there sounds perfect to me. I'm not a fan of Death House, but I do like B. Harrison Smith. Had him on the show a few times. He's a very nice guy. So I'd be thrilled if he made a really good movie. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'm telling you, I have not seen Death House, but I'm telling you, B. Harrison Smith has made a really good movie.
Very good. Good. Your description has me very excited.
Unlike the box, you should see the special more than once.
All right, let's see what else we have going on here.
Echoes of Fear, which is a very simple woman goes into a haunted house, ghost does scary things type of movie, except it's the scariest movie we've ever shown.
Oh, really?
People are going to jump in their seats. People are going to scream. People are going to laugh at themselves for jumping in their seats and screaming. It's that effective. I've seen a few of the movies like The Conjuring and Insidious and stuff, and it's every bit as scary or scarier than those movies. And it deserves a nationwide release, but it's a little indie film, so that's probably not what's going to happen. But this is a chance to see it on a big screen with a great sound system so that it really scares the hell out of you.
Right. By the way, I see the poster now for the special, and even though it's already totally sold, the poster is pretty awesome.
Yeah, they had a couple of different ones, and they were all good, but I said, that's the one I want.
Okay. So that's very good. Is it like a classic horror movie then? Because you compare it to like something like haunted house movies.
Like modern haunted house movies with the big jump scares and stuff. Except somebody pointed out on a thread today that the difference between this and a lot of the films like Conjuring and stuff is you don't see the jump scares coming. And that's what really makes it kick ass. And that filmmaker will be coming out.
Oh, nice. Seems like a lot of filmmakers will be here this year.
For the special, B. Harrison Smith cannot come out because he's in the middle of a move and stuff, but we do have one of the special effects artists coming in, a guy I know. So we will have someone representing the film. Isaac will be there for his film. Do you like action movies?
Yeah, I'm like you. I kind of like... this is a weird thing to say, but if I like the movie, I like the movie. It doesn't really matter the genre.
We have an action movie called The Mongolian Connection, which is a returning filmmaker, Drew Thomas, who did a movie we showed called Channeling, which was also released on DVD as Bloodshot. And that one was sort of about a future society where people wore contact lenses that put their life on 24-hour, like YouTube, social networking and stuff. And this guy got caught up in an action conspiracy plot. So you were following through that. It wasn't strictly from his point of view. But Drew is a very intelligent writer and a very professional director. Channeling was probably the first movie that we showed that looked like it had been made in Hollywood. It looked like a big budget professional film. And the same thing can be said of The Mongolian Connection, which has a American FBI agent going to Mongolia and teaming up with a tough Mongolian cop to take down this bad guy or protect this bad guy from other bad guys. So it's like a real big budget Hollywood action movie, except it was made on a much lower budget in Mongolia, and it's got all the stunts and all the action and funny lines. And I predict that at the end of this movie, the audience is going to be cheering.
Oh, that's very cool. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah.
You know that Fred Vogel is our indie genre Spirit Award recipient this year. Fred is from Toe Tag Pictures. He's done all these Toe Tag Inc. Excuse me. He's done all these films which he's self-distributed, and I see him as a guy who's a lot like me, who's been in the trenches doing indie films for a couple of decades now. And we're happy to have him. And this film, unlike a lot of... Fred is known as a director and a special effects artist who does really realistic effects. And most of his movies, he's kind of known for heading the transgressive film movement. Most of his movies are probably too rough for me. This one, though, is a straight-on thriller. And it's really good. It's about this reporter who goes to interview a death row inmate hours before the guy's execution, in this cat and mouse game they have between them that you don't know how far it's going to spiral. Excellent film, great lead performance. I don't know the actor's name, but it's a really good film.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know Fred from conventions and his movies, but I've never had him on the show or anything.
Well, now is the time. Let's get him on before the event.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
And of course, you can interview him while. Yeah, we're there. Yeah. But I mean, for us, this particular award, the Indie Genre Spirit Award, it's specifically for guys like that, guys like me, guys like Brett Kelly, guys who just make tons and tons of movies or one movie every few years and don't give up. You know, who haven't broken through Hollywood and frankly don't have an interest all that much in Hollywood.
That's interesting that he made a movie that's a little bit different, because he is known for like the August Underground stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, people might torture porn, whatever you call it. But it's interesting to make something that maybe that kind of that fan base that's built in might not be their kind of deal, or But I think it's cool for anyone to try to make something different.
Well, it's funny. I haven't had this conversation with him, but every year. His name comes across my mind as we're thinking about the scheduling, and I'm thinking about the movies we're going to show, and maybe one of those movies would be good as a WTF feature. But for whatever reason, it's just never developed beyond the thinking stage. And he and I were communicating on Facebook, and he mentioned he had this film that he was really proud of. I was like, oh, I definitely want to see it. And it just went from there. So it's definitely a film that developed, as far as our screening goes, just from personal interactions, peer to peer.
So let's see here. What name of
one? We showed a film 2 years ago. Well, let me go back. 3 years ago, we showed a short film called Dogged, which was sort of a Wicker Man type of film. Before folk horror made the full renaissance that it has. 1 year later, that filmmaker, and it won our best short that year. 1 year later, that filmmaker was back with a feature version. Richard Roundtree from England. And the film went over very well at the festival the year that he came. It was 2 years ago. And I was really happy about that. And now he's back with a new film called Nefarious, which is about not so much a home invasion as a burglary gone wrong. And the people committing the robbery are like these young working class lowlifes in England who, through a series of different misfortunate events, they really need some money. And they know that the people who live in this one house have just won a lottery. So they're determined to get in there and get some money, and things go horribly, horribly wrong when they get in there. It's a very low-budget film. It's funded on Indiegogo or Kickstarter. It's very stylish. It's one of those building suspense type of things, and by the end, it's full-on tilt grindhouse movie. And I'll tell you, that one will be at noon on Saturday, and the reason it's on noon is that he happened to be somewhere near the area. So that's when we could schedule a screening so he could be there in person. So it will be our first noon world premiere.
Very nice poster on Nefarious, too.
Yeah, really good. And it's weird. It's, there's a few films I've seen that not necessarily that they were my favorite film on first viewing, but they stayed with me, and there's a few of them that I've watched 4 times at this point, and I've grown to love them through the course of multiple viewings. And that's one of them. Although I knew it was a killer film from the beginning, but there's just so much more I see with each viewing. It's got a really unique editing style.
Yeah. How long does that take you then to get this down to 25 films if you're watching some of these multiple times?
Most of the ones that are a no on one viewing. Mm-hmm. If I don't like a film, I don't have to go back and look at it again. Mm-hmm. It's when you start getting down to the wire and you have to choose between films that I find myself rewatching them.
Yeah,
because I want to give everyone a fair shot, sure. And I also want to give the audience a fair shot. I want the audience to know that when they go to watch a film, it's something that I liked for some reason. Maybe they'll share that opinion, maybe they won't.
Yeah. Do you finish all the movies that are submitted?
99% of them. Mm-hmm. Once in a while, we'll get something that's like intentionally like really bad VHS quality, and I know it's going to look like shit on a screen. And if that film doesn't have something going for it, I'm not watching it for more than an hour. Yeah. What I typically do if I have 2 laptops going, and if I don't like something, my mind will wander and I'll be doing other things. Mm-hmm. But let's put it this way. When a film is not good, you know it right away. It's when a film has stuff going for it that it's hard. Or we had this one that was like 2 hours and 10 minutes long and sort of like Eyes Wide Shut. A lot of weird orgies and things like that. I mean, it was an interesting film, just nothing about the story grabbed my attention. And I watched that right to the end and watched about half of it again.
Mm-hmm. Does the time of a movie ever factor in? I don't know if maybe people like submit like 3 or 4 hour. Like, does anyone submit like really long, like epic movies?
The only way I'm showing a 3-hour movie is if the director's name is Isaac Esban. Right. Now, we make it part of our rules that a feature shouldn't be more than 2 hours. People don't really read the rules. They go to Film Freeway, they see something about the festival they like, and they submit. And if we love a movie, we're not going to care if it's 2 hours or 2 hours and 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. But just as a scheduler, not a programmer, there's a difference. But just as a scheduler, I'm happy if a movie I like is 85 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But by the way, with so many festivals and they keep coming up, for people, for like new directors, independent directors, what should they look for? Even if they don't submit to Buffalo, but what are things people should look for when submitting to a festival?
Well, specifically genre directors should be wary of festivals that say all genres are welcome. Mm-hmm. You look at the name of that festival, and if nothing about it suggests darkness, they're saying they accept horror films just because they want your submission fee. So, I mean, you want to weed out the ones that they clearly are not interested in horror, because if they do show a horror film, it is going to have to be a top-notch horror film. They're not going to take a chance on somebody just because they think they have some talent and they're going to go places, that they're going to evolve as artists. One of our missions is to, support these filmmakers, to promote them, to continue promoting them after we show the films. I mean, you commented that people know each other. So far we have maintained this sort of evolving, growing Buffalo Dreams family, and that's the direction we want to keep heading in. A lot of festivals aren't about that. That's not a criticism. I just say they have different strengths than we do, and we have different strengths than they have, and everyone has their own mission on what they want to achieve. But a filmmaker should definitely read the festival's directions as far as what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't. They just submit something, and you're like, this is not for us, and we're not going to refund your money just because you didn't read what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. I noticed you said once on Facebook something about online festivals. What are your opinions on those?
I think they're the worst. First of all, if you're going to a film festival, you want your film seen by an audience. You want it there by an audience. You want it on a big screen. That's another thing. I mean, I think the festivals that are parts of conventions where they just show it in a banquet room, I think that's a waste of time. They accept a lot of films, and people will go in and rest while they're not walking around the con. But it's not good presentation. There's not good audience. There's usually horrible communication with the festival directors.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of those, and they're very rarely. There's been exceptions, just like anything. When I was actually the one in Texas, Frightmare, there was a lot of people there, and they were excited. But usually, it's very dead. And this way, you said people just kind of come in just to get off their feet for a little bit.
Yeah,
there was one I went to in Seattle because I used to do a lot of conventions before I did the festivals. But I think I fit in better with the festivals. And we went to this one, and we were literally, there was no one there but the two of us, and we felt bad. And the woman that was running it, she was like, "Well, if you two are going to enjoy the movies, I'll keep running them." But so we sat there and watched them. But it's a sad, depressing feeling.
Well, the other thing about an online festival is that they brag about how it goes out all over the world and stuff. What you've done, if you go with an online festival, is you have allowed them to distribute your movie around the world, and you're not getting any money. You've paid them the submission fee, and when you go to your distributor and say, "Oh yeah, I was in this online festival," a distributor is going to say, "Well, then why should we release your film?" It's the most counterproductive move I can think of. I would strongly, it's not my position to slam other festivals, but I would strongly advise filmmakers never, ever to do an online film festival.
Yeah. I started doing the festivals. There is something, like you said, too, to watch. Even if you're not there, people watch a movie and they interact with each other, and then people talk about it. It's a lot. Since I've been doing the festivals, it's really one of the things that's cool. I like the community aspect, like I mentioned. But also, I
see the same people at different movies, and there's just a different vibe.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff was I got to see a year before they come up on Shudder or something, and and you could tell they got a buzz on the festivals, and then they pop up a year later on Shudder, and it's already got a buzz behind it because people saw it at the festival, and it's just it's a positive experience.
Yeah, no, I agree. They're great. That's why I do it.
Right.
And there are so many now. It's funny, because I have my own film, I had reason to look at the different festivals that are out there now. And there's too many to keep track of. There are so many festivals now. And so many this year are first-year festivals or second-year festivals. And, that's fine. But does every town need a film festival? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, because you never want to knock any, because everyone at some point was their first year.
Correct. But I remember our first year very well.
Right. Well, I guess, would that be something else to look for? Is it a festival where there are other festivals in that same area? So if there's multiple festivals in that same area that all show your genre films, do you want to be in the third of the best one, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, Georgia's an example. There are so many horror festivals in Georgia. I don't know anything about any of them. I can't comment, but I would have a hard time navigating through that. And I'm sure there's all sorts of politics involved. And maybe if you show at one festival one year, they don't want you, another festival doesn't want you, for your next film. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. I know that's how the convention started to be, was when I first went, there was probably politics. I just didn't know anything about it. But the more I got into them, it's very political. And then they started doing no compete clauses. So if you were at a convention, and then you couldn't do this other convention. And
it's very silly, and it's very competitive because they've become autograph shows, and autograph shows make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if I catch a whiff for that, I just say I don't know anything about that. Don't want to be involved. Whatever.
Yeah. Some people I made a lot of friends at the conventions because I do like them, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't like. But a lot of people didn't like Gunnar Hansen because they thought he was rude, but I got along with him very well. And one convention we were at, and we were both live on the East Coast, and there was a big storm, so our flight was delayed for hours. So he actually bought me Chinese, and we ate Chinese in the lobby for hours. And he just told me all these things to look out for at the convention scenes, and one of the things was the no compete clauses, and it was a good time, and he was a good guy.
Well, we have something in common. I met him on the circuit as well, and I had him over to my house for dinner once.
Oh, very cool. And he's one of the few guys who knew Sandwich, because usually I just say I'm from Cape Cod, because no one will know Sandwich. But he's like, oh, he used to was on a fishing boat that went out outside of the Sandwich Canal, and I was like, wow, it's very odd.
The great thing about Gunnar is he had this whole other life that had nothing to do with horror films, and that's what kept him sane.
Yeah, that's what I kind of found when we talked to him, is he really didn't want to talk about horror movies or Texas Chainsaw. He just liked to talk about, we talked a lot about TV shows, like stuff on HBO and Showtime. He
was happy to talk about the other Leatherface, though.
Which was that?
The guy who replaced him in TC.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I think there's there's one guy, then there's two, then I found out there's two, but from now, what I understand, there's actually 3 different people who played Leatherface in part 2.
Well, there's also 10 different guys who were the first Michael Myers.
Right, yeah. Right. And they all kind of argue. Well, one guy, but I know one guy gets very mad. It doesn't matter. But I know I've known over the years, even it was Jason from Friday the 13th Part 2. There's a big controversy who, because the one guy wasn't credited for a long time. And then the guy that was credited supposedly was only in the scene when he's not doesn't have the mask on. And I don't know.
It dates back to the battle between the 2 creatures from the Black Lagoon, the land creature and the sea creature, the lagoon creature, arguing for who is the real one, and they wouldn't appear at the same conventions. And I would love to make a movie about that.
Yeah. We had Ben Chapman on the land creature. He's a very nice guy. We never. He's still around too. The Rico Browning.
Rico Browning still alive. Yeah. He had a whole other career directing underwater scenes and Sea Hunt and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember reading about it. It was really interesting, even how they found him. It said he was a merman in some kind of hotel. So they had living almost like a living aquarium with people swimming around.
Yeah.
Wow, it's pretty wild. Seems like something from a dystopian, futuristic movie.
Speaking of dystopian futures,
there you go.
We have a science fiction film called The Tangle, and I think the filmmakers are coming out for Q&A. And this is the first year that we have 4 films that could be considered science fiction film, and they're all really good. But this one blew me away, and it's kind of like a 70s sci-fi film, and I think it would be a real cult film back in that time. And The Tangle is sort of this living embodiment of the internet that prevents people from committing crimes. And it's about these people who live in an underground complex in rooms where they monitor things involving this thing called the Tangle. And it's what happens when somebody actually does commit a murder. So in this essence, it's almost like that Alfred Bester novel, The Demolished Man, where it's telepathic society, so you can't commit murder. So it's a society where it's impossible to commit murder, but a murder happens. And there's 4 or 5 people who are underground in this room who have to figure out what's going on. And the acting's phenomenal. It's got a film noir feeling like Blade Runner, obviously on a smaller scale. It goes outside just enough and shows you what this world's like so that you don't feel like you're just in a room for the whole movie. And it has the best damn dialogue of any film we've ever gotten. And the fascinating thing about this film is it's a mystery, so it's whodunit. But the other mystery is what the hell is happening in this world. It's as the film goes on, through the dialogue, you understand these different concepts, And with each layer of the script, each stage of the script, you piece together a little bit more about what's happening in this environment, in this world that resulted in the actions that we're going to see. So it's a really smart movie, and it actually begs to be seen more than once. So I'm happy we'll have people's first viewing of it, but they will need to see it again.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm a big fan of dystopian. I was going to say just dystopian future, but I'm not a fan of that. I'm a fan of that in movies or stories. So we're kind of living.
The interesting thing about this one also is that the filmmaker Christopher Soren Kelly, I think, I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the thing. We have so many new filmmakers this year. I'm still in the process of getting their names down. I'm already emailing them and stuff, but it won't be until I'm there in person that I'll have it completely down. Anyways, he wrote it, he directed it, and he's one of the 4 main stars. Mm-hmm. That's really impressive. And it's a really visual film, even though it's mostly people talking in a room. So definitely one to catch.
Yeah. So, by the way, why isn't Widow's Point playing?
Who says it isn't?
Oh, could be. Well, it's not announced, I guess.
If it is, it's not announced because I would not want to take any of the wind out of the sails of the filmmakers we're presenting.
There you go. I appreciate that. Respect to that. Let's see here. I know there was one I definitely want to talk about. Do you have another one on mind that you wanted to say?
Another science fiction movie called Volition, which is... we've had a few films that in basic description sound like this. This is about a clairvoyant who witnesses his own murder, so he wants to stop that. And the guy is cool because he's sort of an edgy, borderline criminal type guy, kind of a low life, but it's because of this power he has. But there's also some time travel going on. And we've had like 3 films like this, which are contemporary time travel, to the same... Like it might be going back in time days or weeks or a year. So it's still the same recognizable world, but you see everything from a different point of view when you come back to the present. This one, though, is interesting. They describe it as a cerebral science fiction film, but I think it's very fast-paced and has a lot of action. So if it's a science fiction film and it's fast-paced and has action and it's cerebral, it sounds like it's a pretty damn good science fiction film, and it really is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We have a local film that is definite cult material, and it's one that people won't be able to see unless they find it, like that Todd Haynes movie Superstar, that gets passed around at conventions and stuff. Yes. And that is a film called Catcher in the Rye with Diamonds. Mm-hmm. And it's about the last days, the days preceding Mark David Chapman's murder of John Lennon. And if you know the story at all, he was not just obsessed with Lennon, he was obsessed with Catcher in the Rye, the book Catcher in the Rye. So what this film does is it combines Catcher in the Rye with the last days leading up to John Lennon's murder. So it's basically Mark David Chapman as the main character in Catcher in the Rye, using dialogue, narration from the novel, using Beatles songs, using everything about this movie's unauthorized. Music, dialogue.
Yeah, I was say the Beatles gave them. Yeah.
And they've shown it a number of times around town and just not charged for it. We're not charging it for it either, but we're not making it available to the public unless they have one of the all-week passes or a day pass, or if they see a movie that same day, then they're welcome to stay and see that movie as well. That's one that is really going to catch you by surprise, and you're really going to think about afterwards.
Yeah, I love the idea. It's very, very original.
Very high concept, borderline experimental, and just surprisingly involving.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Let's see. I just wanted to mention too, when you do the Q&As, I thought you're very good at them because you ask some stuff that I don't think a lot of people would think to ask, and a lot of it is because of your experience as a filmmaker. So, you're asked about distribution and how people get certain shots and stuff. So I found those very interesting to watch.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because one thing I noticed is a few years ago, we would bill ourselves in some of our Film Freeway page as a film festival by filmmakers. And what I've noticed over the last few years is there are a lot of film festivals out there that are film festivals by filmmakers. You just haven't heard of their films. Which isn't to say everyone's heard of my films. I know they haven't. I know I'm an obscure filmmaker. But I do think that what you're saying is 100% correct. I definitely have an empathy for the filmmakers and what they go through and understand what they go through. And I think I have a good way of eliciting answers from them in a way that the audience will understand.
Yeah, I agree. And something along those lines, because I get screeners from some of these places, but it seems like you usually when I have a young director on or a new director, they almost always have a horror story about the distribution of their first movie. Either it's coming up, or they just did it and they get cheated. Well, what are some of the things people should look out for?
Well, here's the problem: they should look out for the world, because what's happening is. Number one, that the YouTube and the internet is the worst thing that ever happened to independent filmmaking. As soon as the day your film's released, it gets pirated, it's out there, and there's nothing you can do about it. The internet seems to exist solely to screw over independent filmmakers. But the other thing that's happening is that the mega corporations are taking over other mega corporations, and it's just becoming harder and harder to get distribution. This is something Lloyd Kaufman talks about a lot. Now, when Lloyd is ranting about it, you say, wait a minute, is this just a selling tool? How passionate is he about this? He's very passionate about it, but he's correct. The rise of the major corporations is such a devastating thing for the independent filmmakers, because it means the only distributors that are out there are the ones who aren't going to pay you money up front. None of them will anymore. They'll take your film, they'll throw it on video on demand platforms, which you could do yourself. They won't promote it. They won't spend advertising dollars. They'll send out some press releases, and that's it. That's all you can get right now if you don't have name talent involved. And it sucks. And the one good thing about film festivals is that if you can get into festivals, and we all get rejected. I still get rejections. Is that if you get in, you have a way to show your film to an audience and interact with people and know that your movie is real. It's not just something sitting in your hard drive or in your DVD player that you can watch, or something that you can buy on Amazon that no one's ever heard of. It's so hard to get distribution now. It really is. One of the other films we're showing you and I had discussed is Depraved, Larry Fessenden's film. Mm-hmm. Well, Larry's been at this the same amount of time as I have. He's had a much more successful career, and he's a real artist. I'm a craftsman, I admit it. He's now at the point where he gets good distribution. That film's going to be released by IFC. So he is in a better position. Isaac is now in a better position, but I can tell you that Isaac's movies, El Incidente and the similars, I mean, yeah, they're on Netflix, but the distribution is so-so. I mean, how do your investors get money back? It's very tough. And now Isaac's stepping up. He's got, studios signing him to development deals. That's two guys out of I don't know how many filmmakers that have been coming to our festival for 10 years. Yeah. And that is the reason why so many people give up. And there comes a point where, you want to know you have a job with a 401k, so you're not going to be on the streets or working in a hardware store when you're 70 years old. Yeah.
I had an interesting conversation along those lines with Tony Todd years ago. It was his movie Sushi Girl at the time. It was the most downloaded movie that year. And he said people would come up to him and say, well, that must make you proud or whatever. And he's like, no, it doesn't make me proud. I was producer on that. So, I didn't make any, I put my own money into it, and it's not, I didn't get anything about it. And he also talked about, back when DVDs, he made good money off Candyman and movies, and his other horror movies. Because he said if you think about it, someone would go and spend, even $2 on that DVD to rent it. He said, but now with Netflix, people spend $7 a month for hundreds of thousands of movies. So how much do you think you're are going to get off of?
Well, you don't get royalties from Netflix either. I will tell you that if a film is not good enough for Netflix to lock up and premiere before it's gone to any festivals, and they don't want it to go to any festivals, if you don't have that type of situation, a film that you see on Netflix, they paid $2,500 for a 2-year exclusive. What the fuck are you going to do with $2,500? That $2,500 you're going to spend on delivery materials you have to give to them so they can put it up.
What are your thoughts on video on demand? I mean, it's hard to go back and just have people just buy DVDs and stuff. Some people still do, but I don't think we're never going to go back where people are just buying DVDs. But what are your thoughts on video on demand in general?
Video on demand is great if you have a movie with name actors. If you have a movie with name actors, you're going to get picked up by a distributor who will put it on VOD. And when you go through your guide on your remote, you'll see that movie advertised. And so people are going to watch it, and you can make a profit that way. But if you don't have names in your movie and you just go with some shitty distributor, that distributor is going to do what I said. They're going to upload the film. They're going to put it out there. They're going to send a press release. They'll tweet about it 3 or 4 times. And if the movie doesn't catch on, they will completely forget about it. They will move on to the next one. Their whole business model is to acquire as many films as possible, throw them at the wall, see what sticks, and then go with that one that sticks. There's no guarantee of getting your money. There's no guarantee that you can get the rights back to your film in less than 5 years, maybe 3 years if you're lucky. And by then it's an old title. What are you going to do? Retitle it? Shoot some new scenes and retitle it? So it's brutal out there for filmmakers. You either have to make bigger films with some names, or you have to make smaller films that can, stand to pull in maybe $10,000 in its lifetime.
So, besides just having your movie shown to an audience, what do you think are some of the benefits for a film maker to go to the festivals?
Well, you know how an audience reacts to it. You know where you succeeded, where you failed. It's good to always be doing something, I mean, even whether it's big or small. Mm-hmm. And it's interacting with the other filmmakers and seeing their films. Yeah. And learning from them. What pitfalls did they hit? What successes did they have? What news did they have that you hadn't heard yet? The value of networking at a film festival is very hard to put a price on.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Even I primarily do the podcast, but I've got some small roles and different things that's coming out, and but also got a lot of guests on the show, and then I see other filmmakers who get together and collaborate, and it's definitely a big positive of the festival scene.
Did we have Trinity when you were up? Skip Shea's film Trinity?
I don't think so.
It was about the grown man who encounters the priest who molested his wife.
I don't think I saw it there, but I actually saw it at another festival, and I know him.
Well, Skip came up for 4 days. Basically, when I saw the film, I said, listen, I very often email the filmmakers, the feature filmmakers. In fact, I emailed 90% of them this year and let them know why I didn't choose the film. Mm-hmm. That it isn't just because we didn't have room, that there were reasons I made the decision. But I initially contacted him and I said, this is a really good film, but I don't think I can get anyone in here to watch it. And I don't know that it's worth your time for me to put on a film for an empty audience. And he said, I completely understand. It's difficult material. And then I thought about it and I said, fuck it. This is why we run a film festival, so we can show the movies we want, and hopefully we can get people to turn out for them. So we ended up showing it, and then he ended up coming for 4 days. And while he was there, he met and befriended so many of the other filmmakers, and he has his own film festival, which is in honor of his daughter who passed away. Yeah. And he had some of the filmmakers come up for his festival. And while he was at the festival, he would go back to his hotel and work on a script that someone had hired him to make. And to me, that's the perfect example of somebody who is doing it for the right reason, who's going to festivals for different reasons. And he actually has another film, a folk horror film called Seed or Seeds, that I really wanted to premiere. I wanted that film, but it's just not done yet.
Yeah. He's really, I hung out with him a little bit at Boston Underground Film Festival this year, because he's in New England too. So, but I like his stuff, and I've not been to I think it's Shea O'Shaughnessy Film Festival, but I probably will go this year.
I actually submitted to that one, and if I get in, I probably will make the trip. I would love to get into a festival where I can take my family for like 3 days and basically do what the filmmakers do who come see me. It always turns out that when I get into one, either I can't make the trip, or because I can't afford to take the family, I go and come back really fast. So I would actually like to do one where I can go hang out for a few days.
Yeah.
Like the cool filmmakers do, the good ones who come to Buffalo Dreams.
All right. So, by the way, the Depraved poster, it brings back memories for me. It's got all these staples. I had 72 staples after my surgery. So,
well, who knows? Maybe they snuck a still in the surgery. Maybe that's who knows.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's another case. Depraved, which will be our closing night film, Larry Fessenden's modern Frankenstein film, and Isaac's film were like the two that I really had to jump through hoops on. And the Mongolian Connection was one where the filmmakers were in a position, I understand, there are major genre festivals happening right around this time, and sometimes they got to wait and see if they got into some before they can commit to us, because other festivals insist on having premiere status. We never do. But those are sort of the three films I kind of had to work on to get.
Yeah,
it's not just what gets submitted and we choose the best. We go after films as well, because we really do want the best, whether they're submitted to us or not.
Yeah. I'm very interested in that, because I'm a huge Frankenstein fan.
Myself,
and I love Larry Fessenden stuff. So,
and Larry's first film was a Frankenstein movie. It's called No Telling, and that's one that most people haven't seen. It's had spotty or distribution. And it was Frankenstein conceptually, but not so much the plot. The plot of this one has a lot more similarities to the actual story.
Interesting. I know in your write-up you mentioned it's kind of a theme in some of his films.
Yeah, well, I've known Larry for about 20 years. I knew him reasonably well when I was in New York City. I worked at a video store a block from his house, and he knew the owners, so we got to know each other that way. But I followed his stuff because of that, and I wrote a filmmaking book called Cheap Scares, where I alternated instructional chapters with interviews with people in different areas of the filmmaking process, and I did a real in-depth interview with him. So, I got to know what he's about in terms of the themes he chases and what he's trying to achieve.
Yeah. Interesting. By the way, do you have a favorite version of Frankenstein?
I do. My favorite Frankenstein is Frankenstein: The True Story, the TV miniseries, which bears very little resemblance to the novel.
Yeah, I haven't seen that for a long time, but
David Cullum and James Mason are in that cast. It's a fantastic movie. And then my other one is also a TV movie. It's the super low budget shot on video one that Dan Curtis did with Bo Svensson as the monster. And I actually think Bo Svensson, Walking Tall, was the best Frankenstein monster, the one closest to the one in the book.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
That's a good one, Neil. I think you'd like it.
Yeah. Have you seen the...
Oh,
you go on, Troy.
No.
You were going to ask... You were going to ask the same question.
You were going to ask the exact same thing.
Yeah,
if he had seen the...
Ask it at the same time.
No, that's too weird. But the British play with Benedict Cumberbatch, the Frankenstein one.
I have not.
It's tremendous. It's really, really great.
You guys have had Sebastian Godin on, correct? Seb. Yes. Yeah. Seb is my Canadian bastard, and I'm his American father. But he is the ultimate Frankenstein fan, and he has seen every version. And I heard him talking about that one. I can't keep up with what that kid watches. I mean, every day he's holding up a DVD or something.
Yeah, but I would recommend it. Around here anyway, during Halloween, some place will play it. And what's cool is there's two different versions that have been filmed.
Where they flip the
alternate
actors?
Yeah. They alternate who plays Frankenstein, who plays the monster, who plays the doctor. And that's
I can't
that's
remember the
interesting.
other guy. Who's the other guy, Neil? He plays Sherlock on TV.
Yeah, I'm not positive. I think
that's Cumberbatch, right?
Well, he does the BBC one. This guy does the one with I think it's called Elementary.
Oh, I know. Lucy Liu is Watson.
She's Watson, right?
Oh, it's the guy. He starred in a version of Cupid. I know who you mean.
Yeah. And they switch off the roles, and both of them are great. I mean, either one you see, I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Well, Seb tells me one is definitely better in one role than the other. And I defer to Seb on all things Frankenstein.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned Basket Case earlier in the thing, and this is a weird tangent, but I've been carving Frankenstein's monster in rock in Hunter Mountain, and my teacher is Kevin Van Hentenryck.
Oh yes. Well, Kevin, I worked with on Brain Damage, and he was in my film Dry Bones. He came to Buffalo for a weekend to shoot some scenes, and I learned all about that rock stuff. And then a year later, we hung out with him. We went to this great convention called Shockstock in Canada. But
I know.
We went the year that the convention was under siege by a hockey tournament that was played in the streets all around the block. So nobody came in. So the vendors just hung out the whole weekend. So we got to hang out with him again. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Kevin's awesome. He's a very cool guy. And not to just pat myself on the back, but when Joe Bob Briggs, when he showed Basket Case for the Shutter, he was saying stuff on there, and I was like, wow, this is like stuff I've actually said on the show. It's very strange. And then when he emailed me to come on the show, which was a big honor for me, he mentioned that he watched my videos with Kevin for research when he was doing the Basket Case about what Kevin was doing recently with the stone carving.
So this is a roundabout way of saying that Joe Bob ripped you off. That he stole your shtick.
But he did it in a nice way.
But he did it in a way where I actually felt cool about it. But now that you put it that way, yeah. But he didn't say that. He didn't say that part on the show when I had him on. But he said it in the email. So
you should have read the email back to him.
Right, that's pretty done. Let's see. The ones we had. Did you mention Animal Among Us?
I have not mentioned Animal Among Us. It's sort of a Bigfoot movie. It's sort of a creature feature movie. It's a micro budget movie that has really good production values. And the filmmaker is a very nice guy, and he is coming out. And he seems really excited, and we've got his film scheduled at the end of the weekend so that he has a reason to be there when all the other out of town filmmakers are there.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the film? Have you had him on as a guest?
I have not, and I am a fan of Bigfoot. They're not always the best. I'm not saying anything about this because I've seen it, but Bigfoot movies aren't always the best.
They are not.
But there are some very good ones that I do like. So I'm looking forward to it.
They can be the perfect movie for like a Saturday afternoon or something.
Yeah, definitely. I've not had him on it. So
this one actually impressed me because there's a lot of night shooting at this camp, and there's a lot of scenes of people driving around on those ATVs and things. So it feels like a much bigger film than it is, and they have the cameras, moving with the people. So it's got some nice production value, and it's got some twists, and I can't even hint at what those are without spoiling the film. So I don't want to say too much about the film, except that the poster makes it clear. This is a movie about a monster.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Is Seb going to be there?
Seb says as long as something in his life doesn't happen, he will be there for the opening weekend, I believe.
Mm-hmm. So
gives him and my daughter a chance to reconnect their frenemy relationship.
Oh, is there something going on there?
My daughter's just very obnoxious to him. She's not obnoxious to anybody, but she is obnoxious to him.
All right.
But last year he had to leave before she got to say goodbye, and she was very hurt by that. So,
all right.
I'm glad he'll be back.
Yeah. Seb's a very cool guy. I like Seb.
He's part of not just part of the he's more of the Buffalo family more than he's part of the Buffalo Dreams family, because he spent the time up here on Johnny Gruesome and got to know a lot of the people around here.
Yeah. I might have asked this, I'm not sure, but how did you first connect?
Well, it's funny, I knew Seb as a Facebook guy, somebody who knew a lot about movies. I constantly, that's all you see in his thread. He's not like me bitching about everything that's going on in politics. He's always talking about movies. Always. Every single post is about movies. And I knew him as that. And I actually asked him to send me a video audition for Johnny Gruesome. I was talking to my wife about it. And I always every one of my films, I like to get somebody young and enthusiastic, maybe without a lot of set experience involved. That's my personal way of paying it forward. And he gave me a good audition, but he was just startlingly younger looking than the other actors. And it just would not have played right. So I asked him to come and shoot behind the scenes footage and stuff. So that's how we ended up becoming friends. But he reminded me when he came up here that when he was 14, he had some actor committed to do a voice role for one of his films, and the guy fell out at the last minute. So he contacted me out of the blue, and for some reason I said yes. So I had helped him out on one of these little films of his years before I actually met him, and didn't remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I same way though. I see him pop up all the time on my Facebook, and it's just nonstop movies. And then I feel bad because I'm like, wow, he watches way more movies than I do, and I'm doing this show every week. But
what I find is that anytime a new Godzilla movie comes out, I end up hoping it's a good movie for his sake, because he invests so much time in the countdown. And usually it doesn't matter if it sucks or not, because he loves it anyway.
Yeah. Did he like the last one?
He did.
King of the Monsters. Yeah. I like that one myself.
I liked it a lot myself. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very weird, some of the things I saw people say, because some people said it was too much monsters, which made no sense to me. Then there was people who said it wasn't enough monsters, which neither one made sense to me.
I thought the problem was there were too many people, too many humans.
Yeah, right.
I hated the story, but people kept saying, if you think about it, if you remove those famous faces and insert some Japanese people there, it really is a wacky story like Toho would have done in the 60s, and I buy that. That kind of makes sense. But I liked it so much, I went back and watched it by myself so that my daughter wouldn't be asking me questions during the movie. And I don't go see blockbuster movies twice usually.
Yeah. That was a movie that was fun to watch on the big screen.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Especially if you like an IMAX. I saw an IMAX. So, I remember just seeing the trailer, and the trailer where there's one trailer where it's mostly people, and I wasn't too big on that. But there's a trailer where it's just like I think it's Ghidra's it's just like a 2-minute shot of that. And I remember watching it on the IMAX, and I was looking at my phone for a while because there was other trailers I've seen like dozens of times, and then that popped up. I was like, oh wow, that is pretty sweet. It's kind of like I gotta go see this now. See what we'll be playing that week? Do you think we'll get sick of any music? Like last year, it was the end of
it was the end of A Star Is Born.
That's right, yeah. So I heard that many times.
And we watched that movie a couple of weeks ago, me and my wife, and when I heard that song, it was definitely a Vietnam flashback.
Not the goddamn Shallow song.
So, yeah, I don't know what'll be playing. Spider-Man's there right now. The theater has changed. They're showing more commercial programming, which I think is good for the festival, because when I get a festival trailer in there and get the posters up and everything, I think the audience seeing these commercial films, even though small audience, is more likely to check out the festival than the 70-year-old art house audience that used to go there.
Yeah. Troy hates the music for that movie, and he wasn't even at the festival.
No, I've never even seen the movie, and I hate
the movie. It's easy to be annoyed by the movie even if you haven't seen it. When I watched it, I kept thinking, well, this isn't for me, but I don't understand the hate for it.
Okay.
And as the week went on, I kind of developed a hatred for it.
So you learned to hate this movie. This is good.
Something supernatural about this film, like Ringu.
Right.
It's the movie that makes you hate it.
So tomorrow you're going to, I think you said tomorrow, you were going to do it today, but there was some technical issues. So tomorrow you're going to announce the shorts.
Yes, we are going to announce the shorts. And it would be ridiculous. Go ahead.
I was asked where could people follow that, but finish what you're going to say.
Everything is on the Facebook page. What we do is we announce things in stages on Facebook, and then once we've announced everything right down to the schedule, then we get our website updated. We get everything on the website. So Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival Facebook page.
Mm-hmm. And what were you saying before that?
I was going to name a couple of short films that we have accepted, but then I remembered that one of those short films has a title that I don't know how the fuck to pronounce, so it'll just have to wait till tomorrow.
All right. Yeah. There's times when I have guests on, and not too often with a guest, but there'll be something I don't have. And I'll actually look it up on YouTube to find out how to pronounce certain things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But sometimes,
as long as the guy on YouTube doesn't screw it up.
That is very true, because that's happened before. And I was like, oh, well, now I know how to say it, and then it turned out that guy or girl, whoever, totally butchered it. And I just
let me look at my documents and see if I have. No, I don't have the short films open right now.
That's all right. So we'll check those out on the Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival Facebook page.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I had a great time last year.
I think this is the year everything comes together for us. I mean, we always have a great time, and people always leave saying it was a good festival. But I think in terms of programming, there are just so many strong films playing throughout the week. And so many filmmakers coming in, and we have enough time to iron out any technical flaws that I think this year's really going to kick ass. And I think it's the year we have to establish ourselves as a summer festival now instead of a post-Halloween festival. But I think this is the year that people will recognize that.
Yeah, I think that's a smart idea, because I've known other people who try to start something new around Halloween or whatever, and people are kind of set in their ways. They have certain things they're going to do in Halloween, and I agree. I'd rather go watch movies in Halloween or around Halloween. So I do think that's a good idea, though, to do pre-Halloween.
Summer is just a whole different time here in the city, and it's easier for me to do my running around when my daughter's on vacation, because I don't have to worry about getting home and picking her up and then picking my wife up an hour. It cuts down on my running around and makes things easier for a lot of reasons. So hopefully it works out, and we'll continue in this slot. And if not, then we'll pop back to November. We can always do that.
Sure. And I'll have some cheat days, so I'll still have some beef on Whack and probably some buffalo wings.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to ask you that. You've been on this killer diet. You've lost all this weight. And now are you just going to be bad this week?
Well, not totally. I'll watch my portions and then certain things, but I'll have to cheat at some point. I'll watch what I drink, especially. That's a big thing. I'll probably just be drinking water, but.
Well, I went to the mall today to drop off posters and a DCP. That's a file, the hard drive with a film on it. And I walked over to the food court. I'm going to post photos later. But where half of the food court installations had been, there is now wood, floor to ceiling. Nana's, the Greek place, is gone. The place with the burgers gone. The only thing in the food court is the pizzeria and the pretzel place.
Wow.
This is shocking to me.
Yeah,
this is a major event that the food court's basically shut down. But somebody told me that the Tim Hortons coffee shop, even though it's really tiny, does do the sandwiches and stuff. So that's another option. And the Duff's is still open. But it's hard to get Duff's between movies and eat it down.
It is.
Except for one day in there, I do have slightly longer intermissions, which is the one thing that I set out to do this year that I was able to pull off. I didn't have the shorter schedule or the shorter days, but I did get longer intermissions in there. Monday will be a tough day. Pack your lunch and sneak it in the theater.
That's a good idea. I can bring in bring in some salads or something. Falafel, but
I'm always good before the festival. I stay away from the beef on whack for a few months because I know I'm going to have it almost every day once we get it rolling.
Yeah. It'll probably be a cheat week instead of a cheat day or here, but I'll be good when I come back home. So it'll all work out.
Well, if you walk home, you'll burn it all off.
That's right. Yeah, I told Jason I'm going to be one of those guys now that go and when I get up, I'll go and hit the treadmill in the hotel.
Oh, there you go. All the people you used to make fun of. So,
right. I'll be one of those annoying guys.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually thinking of becoming a mall walker for the next month.
That would work too. Yeah.
Yep.
Mall walker. Yeah.
You know, you can hit the mall for an hour before the show starts.
That's good. That's a good idea. Yeah. But that's sad though about the food court. That's it's here too. Is like with places like when Troy and I were younger. We're brothers, by the way. Troy's 9 years older, but like Kingston Mall. People listen if they're not from the area, they might not know. But it was like people hung out there all the time, and now you go there and it's just like desolate.
Yeah,
and like half the food court's gone. Cape Cod Mall, which is still fairly busy because for some reason people come from all over New England to go there, even though it's just the same stores you go to any mall. But I don't understand.
They have a good ad campaign.
Well, there was a positive development in the mall. I don't know if you remember last year, there was like this comic book store that was a huge space and hardly anything in there, and you would walk in and there wouldn't even be a guy working there. Well, that place was bought out by somebody else now, and it is jam-packed full of stuff. It's just as crazy as that Niagara Falls Emporium, the bazaar, and they've got tons of DVDs.
Well, that'll be fun. Yeah, I'll definitely be.
So, I mean, and DVDs and comic book collectibles and all that crap. So, I mean, it's a good place to kill a lot of time in.
Yeah. I remember there was maybe that was the place you're talking about, the Emporium. I remember we walked around there and there was all kinds of wild stuff. There's also a place that sold a lot of used stuff, like old stuff. That's
the big Emporium. This was strictly a comic book type place.
Yeah. And
it was really strange because, I mean, there wasn't that much merchandise and no one was working there. But now the place is just as full as the other place. So, yeah, that's what it's become. It's become the mall of like sports centers and flea market type places.
Yeah, I guess people go there. But I know that the mall we were talking about, it's all not really stuff that sells anything. It's like a bouncy house and like an escape room.
It's a lot of kid stuff.
Yeah,
it's very weird. And we were in a place too that had no one working there. It was the arcade we went into.
Oh yeah,
every time we go in there,
kind of creepy.
Yeah, so I don't know how because there's a lot of stuff you win the tokens, and I don't know what you do with them because there's no employees, so I don't know. You just carry them around. It's very weird.
It's become a really weird culture, and it's all over when Stranger Things makes the mall like the nostalgia aspect of a show that's already about nostalgia.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah. Then it's like I wonder if Dawn of the Dead at some point it won't really make much sense to people. Like, why are all these zombies going to the mall? Like,
who the hell goes to the mall? Why would zombies go there?
What the hell is the computer? Those malls and indoor shopping place. It's so prophetic.
What would they do now?
Apocalyptic reference.
Yeah, where would everyone go?
They just sit in their rooms on the computer.
They text each other. That's what they would do, the zombies.
Yeah, you can't go hide out on Amazon when there's no electricity.
That's very true. It'll be a sad day for the zombies. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you again, Greg, and it's always fun to have you on the show.
Yeah, always great talking with you.
Thank you for having me on to ramble. Glad we defeated those technical bugs.
Yeah, that's no problem. And when this is on podcast, no one will know the difference.
Correct.
And so August 23rd to the 29th at Eastern Hills Cinema at the Dipson Theater, Buffalo Green's Fantastic Film Festival. It's going to be good.
7 days of wonder.
Exactly. But yeah, honestly, I had a great time, and I'm looking forward to it. If I didn't have a great time, I wouldn't come back. So
That makes
obviously,
sense.
I had a good time. Right. You're right. Yes, it does make sense.
Well, I thought you had a good time, but I was still surprised that you were going to come back. It says something, somebody taking a week out of their lives to travel to a film festival. How many do you do a year?
Usually 2 or 3. I think last year I did. Last year was like a local one. Like I did like a day one in Happenstance Film Festival. That was fun too. But usually 2 or 3. And I have to say my 2 favorites that I've done are Boston Underground Film Festival and Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival. Similar vibe to me. It has a community feel. In the Boston one, it's a lot of Boston regulars. And also both of them are one-screen festivals.
Oh, nice.
I like that. Even though Fright Fest, Fright Fest, the one in London, it's huge, but there's also like multiple screens, even multiple theaters.
Yeah.
And even if you wanted to see everything, you can't.
Yeah. Usually when they do that, they show every film at least twice and try and give you a second shot, but you can still lose out.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, there's no other way to do it, I guess. But for me personally, I like a more when everyone's there together. There's something about that.
Very good.
Right. So we'll see you soon, Greg.
Thank you. Good talking to you, Neil. Good talking to you, Troy.
Yep, always a pleasure. Take care.
Yeah. We'll get Troy out one of these years.
Yes.
Yeah, one year I'll make the trip to Buffalo.
It's a destination place now. The city's had a big turnaround.
I know.
Canal side, downtown. Which, I won't go to because it's always packed. But
if the locals stay away from there, then
exactly.
We'll go. Yep.
Although a lot of locals do go there.
Okay.
They don't mind looking for parking. I do. All right. Have a good night, guys.
You as well.
Good night.
See you very soon.
Bye. Yeah. Bye.